You are listening to Whole Earth Radio.
Hi, this is Rob Seaman, and you're listening to Whole Earth Radio. Or you're watching the video, because some people like to watch people talk for some reason. But in any case, hopefully you are hearing me clearly. And if you're watching the video, you can see my hat. It says, "Give Bees a Chance." And the reason that I'm wearing this hat is next month coming up is the Give Bees a Chance promotion. It's a project of Host Defense Organic Mushrooms, a company founded by Paul Stamets, who is really the world's foremost mycologist. So he studies mushrooms. He has a number of patents in using mushrooms to benefit human health, to benefit the environment. A lot of different uses for mushrooms and mycelium. And this program, Give Bees a Chance, is working on preventing colony collapse disorder with organic mushroom extracts. And that's really important because colony collapse disorder is a problem that affects the entire environment. So without, perhaps you've seen some illustrations, what our food supply would look like without the honeybee, it's pretty depressing. We would not have any food if we did not have bees, not very much to speak of. And so the thing that Paul is doing is using mushroom extracts to boost the immune system of the bees and to help prevent colony collapse disorder. He's working with Washington State University, a number of researchers, and has a couple of patents on different applications there. So it's really exciting to have a natural solution for colony collapse disorder, and it's a really important issue to be addressing. But it also underscores the benefits of mushrooms for human health. That's really what Host Defense is all about, is providing dietary supplements which give humans a way to boost their immune system. So the same way it works for bees also works for humans. There's just myriad of research on the topic. And Paul has really been at the forefront for years and years. And if you like podcasts, he did a really great one November of last year. I think it was November 7th of 17, the Joe Rogan Experience, one of the most popular episodes of that podcast, I understand. And they nearly broke the internet. It was just such a great meeting of the mind, so to speak. So seek that one out. And if you're looking for videos on Give Bees a Chance, you can look online. There's Paul talking. There's Jerry, Tom, and Gina, and lots of other folks from Host Defense giving good information online. You can find some good videos and some really exciting stuff. So that's Give Bees a Chance happening in June. But there's something else happening in June, and it is Hemp History Week. And Hemp History Week is really important because if you understand the history of hemp, you can start to understand how we wound up in the place that we are with hemp in the United States, which is that it's very much a controversial subject, perhaps often when it shouldn't be. So this leads me to the topic that I'm going to cover today, which is CBD in Wisconsin and the sale of cannabidiol as a legal dietary supplement in Wisconsin in particular. And why has this been such a big issue lately? Well, there's a number of reasons. One is that hemp-derived CBD is different from marijuana, but there's a lot of confusion about that at both the federal and the state level. And this is happening at the state level in Wisconsin. So here's the deal. Essentially, Wisconsin passed a law to try to allow access to CBD, non-marijuana CBD, for individuals that are treating themselves or their children. It's available basically as a legal substance. It's not intoxicating. It's not psychoactive, if I can get that out. It's non-psychoactive. And that's what cannabidiol really offers, is the benefits of balancing the endocannabinoid system without intoxication, without making you flaky and a little out there. It's not like that. It doesn't do that. So CBD is derived from hemp, which is not marijuana. And the federal government has defined marijuana as different from hemp because marijuana contains a certain amount of tetrahydrocannabinol, THC, is the intoxicating substance in marijuana, the primary intoxicating substance, which makes marijuana marijuana. The absence of THC makes hemp, by definition, not marijuana. That's the federal interpretation, or the federal ruling, really, in a federal court. So that's why the Hemp Industry Association has been working for years to try to clear this up. While some people are working to legalize marijuana, that's great. If that's what you want to do, certain states have done that. More power to you. But hemp-derived CBD is already legal. Okay, so just want to lay that out there. So what's going on in Wisconsin? Why is there this controversy right now? Well, there's been a guidance issued by the Wisconsin, WISC. So that is a multi-agency group that gives out guidances on the law. And they recently put out something. It was originally issued to a pilot program in growing hemp there in the state. But what it did was it stated that selling CBD, cannabidiol, is illegal in Wisconsin. So something similar to this happened in Indiana. There was a bill passed in Wisconsin, Senate Bill 10, and the author of that bill, Senator Weigard, said that the intention was to make hemp-derived CBD legal. Okay, this is why they wrote the bill. There is some confusion over how CBD should be sold, how it should be dispensed, and one interpretation of the bill is that it really needs to be sold in a pharmacy. And there are a number of pharmacies. There's a community pharmacy in Madison, Wisconsin, sells CBD. They've been very vocal. They've been very outspoken. There's some great articles out there, and they're quoting folks like the staff at Community Pharmacy, but also Josh Hendricks from CV Sciences. Josh has a lot of good information on why this issue is so widely misunderstood, why legal non-marijuana CBD has been, stigmatized, really. And at the law enforcement level, there's a lot of misunderstanding. So, we want to clear that up. And I think the first and most important part of it is for people to understand what CBD is and what CBD isn't. I think I've kind of given you the background there on why CBD is not a drug, why it's not marijuana, why it's not intoxicating. And, I'm not going to go too into the benefits of CBD. If you want to find that information, there is a ton of it out there. So this is one of the interesting things when you look at it federally. So everybody wants a piece of this pie right now. There are a lot of companies that want to make money off CBD, not just the dietary supplement companies that have been selling it for years prior to any exploration by pharma companies. But now Big Pharma wants a piece of this. So it's interesting to note that when the FDA sent out warning letters to companies, dietary supplement companies making CBD, they didn't say this is illegal. You can't sell this. Well, they did, but the reason they gave was not that it was any sort of illicit drug or an illegal substance, but that it was encroaching on the intellectual property of a company called GW Pharma that makes a drug called Sativex. Now, Sativex contains 2.5 milligrams of CBD and 2.5 milligrams of THC. So it's different than a broad spectrum hemp extract that is standardized to contain a certain amount of CBD. This has CBD and THC. The legal dietary supplements of CBD do not contain that kind of level of THC. They have very, very minute amounts as part of the cannabinoid entourage, which is legal, as a federal judge has ruled. Okay, so when the FDA wrote these warning letters to companies, they didn't write one to CV Sciences because they're doing everything right, but they sent the letters to a lot of companies that were sort of the low-hanging fruit, companies that did not meet label claim. Maybe they had high levels of THC, which did make their product a marijuana substance because it had high levels of THC by the federal definition. But they said, you're encroaching on the intellectual property of this pharma company, which is strange to me because I have not seen, even through the red yeast rice controversy over whether something is natural or whether it can be patented by pharma, because it's an either or sort of thing. right? It can't be patented by pharma if it's something that naturally occurs and is sort of public domain, if you will, in terms of um, phytobiology, right? These things, you can't patent something that naturally occurs according to the Fair Trade Act. Now, in recent years, we've seen companies coming up with sort of a proprietary aspect of a natural compound and being able to patent that. So there are some exceptions. It depends on what the U.S. Patent Office interprets and what they will accept. But generally, we could say that the Sativex that they referenced in their warning letters is pretty different from CBD supplements, mainly because it has the significant amount of THC. And Sativex was approved. It was fast-tracked. It had what they call orphan drug status, which means if you have a condition like, for example, Dravet syndrome is what Sativex was approved for treating. Because there are not a lot of drugs for Dravet syndrome, which is a seizure disorder, they fast-tracked Sativex, and it was approved with orphan drug status, which is great. I mean, if you have a kid with seizure disorder and you have this compound that can help them, that's fantastic. Fast-track it, FDA, good for you. But it's different than CBD, and CBD also can help treat seizures, and it doesn't have THC, which is arguably, according to the federal government, the intoxicating part of the plant, right? So this is the benefit of a non-marijuana CBD dietary supplement. One of the benefits is that it's not that drug. It doesn't have the THC, and it isn't encroaching on the intellectual property of GW Pharma. Number one, because it was marketed before any investigational new drug work. Losing my voice here. But really, I think it comes down to natural versus pharma, and these are different paradigms, and they coexist in this sort of delicate balance, which on the dietary supplement side is ruled and regulated by the Dietary Supplement Health Education Act. That's another thing that the FDA included in some of their warning letters. Companies were making illegal claims. In other words, you can sell hemp-derived CBD as a dietary supplement, but you cannot say it will treat pediatric seizure disorder or cancer or any disease. That's what DeShay says. It would be legal to sell a dietary supplement for supporting the health of the endocannabinoid system. And that's what other companies are doing now. They're selling non-CBD compounds like maca, ashwagandha, different things that are being sold in combination, and some hemp extracts to modulate the endocannabinoid system. And I could go on about the endocannabinoid system. I'm not the person to probably do an ECS documentary video, but there are plenty out there, and it'd be a cool thing to do. Maybe we'll do that at some point in the future. But right now, staying on point here, we're talking about CBD in Wisconsin. So what's happening right now is a letter has come out, or a guidance from the WISC, and they said CBD is illegal. They made no qualifications of that. They didn't refer to any federal laws. They're really just referring to the law that was signed in Wisconsin. The governor signed it after it passed, the Congress there. It was Senate Bill 10. And the author of that bill, once again, as quoted by Action 2 News in Green Bay, says the intention of that bill was to make hemp-derived CBD legal. If it doesn't come from marijuana, you should not have to worry about whether it's legal, about whether you can sell it in your health food store. All of these things, the Wisconsin government is saying this is not the intention, okay? But at the law enforcement level, and it's interesting because when you look at the WISC website, it looks like their primary focus is really anti-terrorism, which is great. Thank you so much. I'm not an anti-law enforcement person. I got to tell you, I'm not anti-law and order. Let's just say that, okay? And I'm not looking to propose anything radical, but I think what we have here is a gray area. I mean, I know what we have here is a gray area, but it's because of the conflation of things that are happening at the federal level and the local level, and people want to gain a greater understanding, but I think the default of law enforcement is probably going to be, if they have to decide if something is legal or illegal, my broad statement would be that I think in law enforcement, they're going to err on the side of it not being legal, particularly if it's something they're not sure of. In their mind and in a lot of people's minds, it's related to something that is clearly illegal in Wisconsin, which is marijuana. But it's really not, because the federal standard has differentiated. So that's what we're really saying here, is that what I would hope to see, and what I think anyone who really is in favor of CBD as a dietary supplement would hope to see in Wisconsin, is maybe some action to where the Wisconsin law and the Wisconsin interpretation at the law enforcement level can get in line with the federal status. So there's one last piece of this that, at this point, somebody's going to bring up: what about the DEA classifying CBD as a Schedule I drug? Well, it's important to know that the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, is just that, an enforcement agency. It's not a legislative body. They have to make laws. I mean, they can't make laws. Congress makes laws, but they can't reschedule substances without the assistance of Congress. When the DEA did actually move CBD to Schedule I classification, their public statement was that it had nothing to do with enforcement, was not going to change the way that the law was enforced, but it was strictly for categorizing research. However, the Hemp Industry Association has filed a lawsuit which says that they don't have the authority to do that. That lawsuit has been backed by 28 U.S. senators to date. And the reason is the DEA, in this case, in their measure, overstepped their bounds. They were out of line with what the DEA is really supposed to be doing, which is enforcing the laws that are on the books. You can't just reschedule something because you decide that it should be, and you don't go through the process of involving Congress. There's a lot of things that have to happen there. And really what you want to look at is, if you look at the Schedule I, that drugs that have been put on Schedule I, CBD is not there. Cannabinoids are not there. The reason is it was never approved. It's not part of reality. So the DEA sort of just did something very surface in classifying that. But I think this is in keeping with, unfortunately, what's been happening with CBD is that no one's getting arrested. Hey, email me if you know someone who's been arrested for CBD. And I think I may be able to help you out, but I know of no one to date. Google it, and there's been no federal action against anyone for possessing or manufacturing CBD in and of itself. Okay, so the DEA has said that they're not looking to arrest anybody. They did this basically. They say to classify research. I would propose maybe part of it is to intimidate bad actors. They always say that there are these supplement companies that sort of fly by night. They don't use good manufacturing practices. Their products are spotty. They don't meet label claim. Companies that are very much unlike CB Sciences, Cannabis, Sibdex, reputable manufacturers of CBD supplements like Plus CBD are not doing those things. They are using good manufacturing practices. They're in compliance. It's a legal product. It's a legal dietary supplement. Just like red yeast rice is a legal dietary supplement, even though statins are available by prescription. You see how it goes? And, this isn't always true. Legal things aren't, natural things aren't always legal. Marijuana is natural. It's certainly not legal in the majority of states. But hemp-derived CBD is, and that's really the crux of what's going on here. So that's just my 2 cents on CBD in Wisconsin. Please join us next time on another exciting episode of Whole Earth Radio.
You are listening to Whole Earth Radio.